Hello ladies and gents, my name is Phil from Small Robot Tabletop Hobbies, and today we're going to be taking a look at Monumental, the board game. This is a Kickstarter prototype version I've got here. So it's coming to Kickstarter on October 23rd, 2018. And there's going to be two versions. There's going to be a version with minis and a version with discs and tokens, rather than the actual miniatures themselves. Obviously the miniatures will be a premium price. This is classed as a civilization game for 1 to 4 players, but there's, in my eyes, there's a lot more going on than just a civ game as such. We have a tableau building set up in the game. There's also quite a lot of elements of deck building and deck manipulation that you're trying to do. And there's also area control and dudes on a map where you're trying to invade other areas on the map to gain provinces and hold provinces which are worth points at the end of the game. The game ticks along at a fair old pace. I've played a 2-player version of it, so this setup you can see here is for 1 player, and we'll talk about some of the setup in a minute. So as you can see, this is I think this is about a 3 foot by 3 foot table that this game is on at the moment, 2.5 foot by 2.5 foot, something like that. And so it takes up quite a bit of space. So this is literally 1 player. This is the central deck. Those cards over there are the typical deck builder, slightly better upgrade, slightly better cards than what you've already got in your deck. And this is your general layout, and this map is for a 2-player. The more players you have, obviously the more provinces and more tiles you have on the map itself. So the game is based around 3 basic resources, which is production, military and science. Each military point, which is the red on the cards themselves, they allow you to move your troops around the board. 1 military point allows you to move a troop 1 spot. If the province you're trying to go into has a barbarian gang or an opposition player, you basically add up the value of the province tile, which may be a 1, the barbarian tile, which may be a 3, so you need a military value of 4 going into there, so you need to equal or better it. And then you move your troops in, you take over that province, that's it, it becomes yours. You need to have a presence in the province in order to score it at the end of the game. And you can never leave a province and not leave anyone in there. So as you go across the map, you thin your troops out. So you've always got to leave someone in a province when you leave a province. You can move yourself back from provinces by using outposts, which are a free action. Just when you've got three of your troops in a province, or your warlord in a province, you can just dump an outpost and bring them back to your central tile. The science and production. So the science enable you to increase your culture's knowledge, which as we go through the era deck, you get more and more technology. The technology gets more and more advanced. So you increase your knowledge, and it gives you benefits because knowledge cards actually double up a card in your tableau. We'll talk about the tableau in a moment. The production cards are literally kind of the currency of the game. Whenever you want to buy anything from the production market, the development market, pretty much you need production or science to buy stuff. That's just your currency. You can also earn gold in this game, so you earn a lot of gold. Gold can be used as any basic resource, which means you can use a gold as science, military or production. And you also get culture tokens. Culture tokens allow you to upgrade your culture so that they can actually be more passively aggressive. So a culture action is something that pretty much sits in the background, a bit like your warlord action, and they sit there. And it's things like whenever you do this, you gain this, but they sit passively in the background and are always happening. And you can have all your cultures out, and there's quite a lot of linking and chain reactions that happen with the cultures and your various cards in the tableau. In the core box you get 5 civilizations, which are Egypt, Vikings, China, Greece and Japan. They've sent me a few samples of the civs that they're going to be demoing, and they play quite differently. There's different things happening, and obviously some cultures are more aggressive than others. So there's some which want you to push, or some which want you to develop culture, and there's quite a good mix of the civilizations. So let's talk a little bit about the tableau and the way that this actually works. If you're clever enough, you can probably manipulate your deck, because every time you buy a card from the development deck, which is basically giving you upgrades for your own personal deck, it goes straight on top of your deck itself. It doesn't go to your discard pile. So your starting deck is 20 cards, which are 5 culture cards and 15 cards which go in your tableau, plus your warlord. Your warlord has a passive ability which sits out pretty much all the time. So you know, this warlord, for example, says the first time Miyamoto conquers a province, you gain 2 science. So each turn, every time you conquer a province with your warlord, you gain 2 science tokens. So it becomes a resource grab a lot of the time in this game. But to activate your tableau, so this what makes this game a little bit different from normal deck builders is that your tableau stays out in front of you in this 9x9 grid. You start at the top left and you lay your cards out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If a science card comes out, you just double up and you put another card on top of it, so you get 2 actions on that one card. To actually use your tableau, you choose a line and you choose a column and a row. So say I was going to activate these 3 at the top, I just tap them, exhaust them, whatever this company is calling it. So I just exhaust them a little bit and I say I'm going to use these 5 cards. So these 5 cards would then give me the resources. So for example, this is 1, 2 production, 1, 2 war, 1 science. You quickly grab the tokens relating to the resources, the basic resources you gained, and then you take actions after that. There are 7 actions you can take in the game, which I won't go to in depth here, but basically they equate to you can exchange basic resources for other things. You can move your warlords. You can develop culture. So culture is developed by spending culture tokens, and there's a whole upgrade path for your culture, which basically the games I've played ends up being a massive trigger. So it's such a chain reaction events that can happen with your culture, where these cards can be activated. You can use these cards that you've exhausted on your tableau in any order. So there are times when you can exhaust these 2 first, take what they were given, and that will trigger a culture, which will then trigger a second card, and the chain reactions that happen as you're moving around the board at the same time are quite frightening. It was massively at times where they were just gaining resources, moving troops, taking provinces, and it was huge. They were just gaining more and more stuff, grabbing stuff from the development track, sticking it on top of their deck, so they knew it was going to come out in their tableau next time, and away they went. Once you've used these cards in this row and column, these go away into your discard pile, and then you deal the replacement cards in order where they may be missing. So if you're clever enough, sometimes you can actually manipulate your grid so that you know you're going to try and line up, say, a whole row and column of military power or science power, so that you can actually your next turn is going to be good, or you can get rid of cards that you're not particularly interested in. There are lots of things to do on your turn. There's a total of 7 actions, and they're all available to you until you can do no more, which is another nice twist. Once you buy from the development track, you can develop things like wonders, because wonders are the way you score points in this game. You get 2 points at the end of the game for every wonder that you have built. You get 1 point for every province that you're in. You get a point for every knowledge card that you own in your deck, and the points seem to be pretty slim on the grind. I think the most we've ever scored is something like 30 points, and the most I've ever scored so far is about 14 points, because I seem to lose track because I try and do too many things. So there are tactics in this game as well, which are very good. When you develop wonders are the way you score the most points. These are worth 2 points per wonder, but you can only develop a wonder if you have space to put it in a province that you control, and you can only develop 1 wonder at a time. So there's lots of things that require you to think your moves ahead. Also, wonders need you to do a double action. You take a wonder and you develop it in 2 stages. So you develop it, and then hopefully during your turn you may be able to develop it again by gaining more resources as your triggers and your chain reactions start to happen, which is a really interesting idea. I mean, I've never seen something like it in this way before. There is a way that you can randomize your setup. So in the manual it says, obviously I've got a prototype version, so artwork and things like that aren't final, but there is a way that you can randomize just by chucking map tiles out and going for it, which I would imagine would make sometimes quite a tough game. But there's quite a lot of depth in this game, and I enjoy playing the prototype. So if this is something that you think you might like, civilization, deck building, dudes on a map, a menagerie of game what's the word, nuances? A menagerie of game, I don't know. It's a menagerie of game ideas, we'll call it that. Basically, if you're into deck buildings, the tableau itself is quite a novel take on it. The map looks pretty. The miniatures, the miniatures I've seen are very, very nice. So if you like miniatures as well, there's an upgraded version which come with minis rather than the actual troop discs. This could be for you. It's on the Kickstarter soon. Check it out.